Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite the stack of sources here. They lay out this whole massive blueprint for something called the Infusion Battle Arena.
That's right. And you really need something like this, when you're trying to figure out fights between characters from completely different worlds. I mean, one guy's got a spear, the other can crack planets.
Exactly. So you need rules, a common ground. Our mission today is basically decoding that framework they've built. We're looking at combat criteria, proficiency levels, those power level tiers, and the resolution framework. It's the core system.
Yeah, and it's important to get what they're aiming for. The sources emphasize balance, repeatable outcomes. It's about looking at how characters perform consistently, their standard portrayal.
Right, not those like one-time crazy power-ups you see in comics sometimes. Those don't really help measure things fairly.
Precisely. Those are outliers. This system is designed to avoid that, focusing on the typical depiction. If you get this blueprint, you understand the engine behind the whole thing.
You'll see why maybe a super skilled fighter at a lower power level could still, pose a threat, or maybe why they absolutely couldn't.
Defines those interactions.
And just to show why this is immediately relevant, the sources mention our very next deep dive. We're going to use these exact rules to look at Batman, Captain America, Pitt from Image Comics, and Superman.
4 very different characters.
Yeah.
Should be interesting to apply this.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with skill, right? Combat proficiency.
Proficiency, yeah. This is all about how someone fights effectively. It's performance. Accuracy, timing, how reliable they are. Can they land hits? Can they avoid hits? Especially when things get chaotic.
It's the quality of the fighter, not just their raw strength.
Exactly. And the sources draw this really crucial line here. Proficiency is not the same thing as how much training someone has had.
Right. I found that fascinating. It's not about counting diplomas or black belts.
Not at all. Think about it like this.
Yeah.
You could have, say, a monk who spent decades mastering a martial art, super disciplined, knows all the forms, but maybe under real pressure, they hesitate, or they're predictable. Now compare that to someone, maybe some kind of metahuman, who has 0 formal training, but has, perfect instincts, amazing reflexes, always knows where to be, just a natural-born fighter.
So if the monk messes up under pressure, but the street brawler type always gets the job done reliably.
The brawler actually rates higher on proficiency, even with no training listed on paper. It's all about the application, the results.
Performance over pedigree? Makes sense.
We should quickly mention specializations, things like being an incredible marksman or a master swordsman.
Yeah.
Those can make you way more effective, obviously, but usually only in that specific area. Being the world's best archer doesn't suddenly boost your hand-to-hand skill against, a ninja. It doesn't lift your whole fighting baseline.
Gotcha. Specific boosts for specific skills. Okay, let's run through the levels then. There are 6. We need to kind of get these fixed in our heads.
6 levels, yeah.
Yeah.
Starts at the bottom with inept. Basically, little or no real fighting ability. Think characters who are physically weak, clumsy.
Or maybe they have powers but just haven't figured out how to use them effectively in a fight yet.
Exactly. They struggle to apply anything useful.
Okay. Then competent. This sounds like limited experience. Maybe some basic self-defense or hobbyist level stuff.
Yeah, or maybe routine security work. They can handle themselves a bit, but they're not consistent against someone really skilled. The sources actually say trained police officers dealing with occasional violence are at the very top end of competent.
Interesting benchmark. Okay, next up, formidable.
Now you're talking reliable fighters. Trained soldiers, professional fighters, mercenaries, standard Atlantean warriors, Amazonian soldiers.
Yeah.
They fit here. Consistent, skilled, know how to execute.
Right. Then phenomenal. This sounds like the elite tier.
It is. Advanced skill, lots of experience, super reliable. These are the fighters who really shine in complex fights. The source gives examples like Nightwing, Daredevil.
Even Deadpool.
Despite the healing factor. Yeah, the framework looks past the healing factor to his actual combat skill, which is consistently shown as being incredibly high. Phenomenal reflexes, accuracy, weapon use.
Okay. Makes sense. Above phenomenal.
Remarkable. This is reserved for the absolute masters in their universes. The peak of fighting skill you can reach, short of being a literal god of war.
And the examples here are huge names. Batman, Captain America, Black Panther, Wonder Woman. Okay, wait. Pause there. Batman and Captain America. Peak humans, right. They're ranked at the same skill level as Wonder Woman and Amazon demigoddess.
That's what the framework asserts, yeah. It's saying that pure technical skill, divorced from raw power or speed, can reach that mythological level even for a human.
So if you just look at technique, timing, strategy, Batman's skill is considered pretty much equal to Wonder Woman's, despite her physical advantages.
According to these sources, yes. If a character is consistently shown as one of the best technical fighters, period, they get this rating. The skill itself is comparable at the highest level.
Wow, okay. And the final level.
Unprecedented. The absolute legends, the fighters whose skill is almost a force of nature itself. Lady Shiva, Shang-Chi, Richard Dragon.
And sometimes literal gods, like Ares.
Ares, god of war, is often placed here, yeah. Their skill is just unmatched, part of their very concept.
Okay, so that covers how they fight. Proficiency. But skill doesn't mean much if you're facing someone who can just, level the city.
Exactly. Which brings us to the other half of the equation, power level tiers. This defines the sheer scale of power.
The raw physical impact, the destructive capacity.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is how these tiers establish the scale of the fight, completely separate from the skill we just talked about.
So let's walk through these 6 tiers as well, starting at the bottom again. Street, non-powered.
Right. Here, it's all about skill, tactics, maybe some clever gear. But crucially, the ceiling is peak human. No superpowers, no suits that grant superhuman abilities.
Examples given are like Green Arrow, Punisher, Lex Luthor when he's not in a giant robot suit.
Exactly. And that Green Arrow point is key. You mentioned trick arrows before. The framework seems to say, if the gear gives a temporary edge, like a smoke bomb or a net arrow, fine.
But
if the gear grants sustained superhuman abilities, like maybe Deathstroke's suit, enhancing his strength and speed constantly, that bumps you up.
to the next tier, which is enhanced.
Correct. These folks are definitely above normal humans, but not quite full-on superhuman. Maybe they heal faster, have sharper senses.
Or use tech like suits or maybe magical items, totems that put them just a bit over that peak human limit.
Exactly. Strength-wise, they're above human, maybe up to lifting about a ton. Deathstroke is the classic example here. Black Widow, maybe Iron Fist with his chi focus.
Okay. Then we get to superhuman. This sounds like the standard for most comic heroes.
He really is. Their baseline abilities are clearly superhuman. Often it's one main power or a focused set. They can generally dominate enhanced tier opponents.
And the strength scale jumps massively here, from 1 ton max enhanced.
To starting at 2 tons and going all the way up to about 500 tons for superhuman. Big range. Think Spider-Man, early Invincible, maybe Atom Smasher.
Okay, 500 tons max. But the next jump, this seems like the biggest leap yet, from superhuman to metahuman.
It's enormous, yeah. The scale just explodes. Metahuman starts at 1 kiloton, that's 1,000 tons, and goes up to planetary-level threats.
1,000 tons to planetary. What does that huge gap even mean in practical terms? How does the fight change?
It means the fundamental nature of the conflict shifts. A superhuman might wreck a building with effort. A metahuman, like Superman or Thanos, or a powerful Green Lantern like Hal Jordan, they can threaten entire cities, even nations, almost casually.
Their destructive power and durability are just on a whole different level. More versatile powers, too, usually.
Often, yeah. Multiple powers, mythic levels of strength, or energy control. But importantly, they're generally still bound by physics, more or less. They can't just rewrite reality on a whim.
Okay. Above metahuman.
Cosmic. Now we're talking beings who operate on a planetary, solar system, or even universal scale as their baseline. They control fundamental forces. Gravity, energy, matter itself.
So Galactus, Darkseid, maybe someone like the Spectre.
Those are the kind of figures, yes. Universal heavy hitters, still usually operating within some kind of measurable, if vast, physical scope, though.
And right at the very top.
Unmatched. These aren't really fighters in the conventional sense anymore. They're abstracts, absolutes, concepts made manifest. Death, Dream of the Endless, the Living Tribunal.
And conflict for them isn't about punches or energy blasts.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
The sources say it's determined by things like will, concept, maybe even narrative weight. Physical power becomes almost irrelevant at this level.
Wow. Okay, that sets up the combatants, their skill and their power scale. Now, where do they actually fight? The environment and the resolution framework?
Right, the arena itself, the Infusion battle arena, as they call it, it's designed as the ultimate neutral zone. Fixed environment, balanced terrain. You've got open ground, places for cover, some water features, different elevations, areas with shadows. Everything a tactical fighter might need.
And the conditions, weather, lighting.
Neutral by default.
Yes.
Sunny day, clear visibility, unless a combatant's powers specifically change that. The ground's tough, but you can definitely damage it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it sounds like the arena itself is designed to stop fights from just being about who hits harder. giving the underdog a chance.
That seems to be the intent, yeah.
And
And that leads directly to maybe the most talked about rule from the sources, the critical two-tier rule.
okay, what's that?
It kicks in if the fighters are separated by 2 full tiers of power. So think street level versus superhuman, or enhanced versus metahuman, big gap.
Right, what happens then?
The arena itself automatically adjusts the terrain to favor the lower tier fighter.
Whoa, how? Does it, like, give the street guy a power-up, a weapon drop?
No, absolutely not. The sources are very clear. No power boosts, no magic items appear. It's purely about changing the natural terrain to create tactical opportunities.
Okay, paint me a picture. Say, Batman Street tier is up against Atom Smasher, who's superhuman, 2 tiers apart.
Right. The arena wouldn't give Batman super strength. Instead, maybe the ground near Batman becomes incredibly dense, harder for Atom Smasher to just punch through. Maybe tall, indestructible pillars rise up, giving Batman cover and verticality.
Deep shadows might appear for stealth, resilient landscapes that don't just instantly turn to rubble.
Exactly that kind of thing. It turns what could be a quick squash match into a more strategic challenge. It gives Batman's remarkable skill a chance to leverage the environment against Atom Smasher's superhuman scale.
Ah, okay. So the environment helps skill find an opening against overwhelming power if the gap is big enough.
That's the idea. Skill capitalizes on the terrain advantage the arena provides.
Gotcha. And how do fights actually end?
The sources say resolution comes through incapacitation knockout, restraint, or achieving a decisive, undeniable advantage.
And who decides if it's like a knockout versus something more permanent?
That depends entirely on consistent character portrayal. If a character always goes for the kill, they'll fight that way. If they always try to subdue opponents, that's what they'll aim for.
But what if a non-lethal fighter is facing someone who is trying to kill them?
Good question. The rules include a sort of self-preservation clause. If one fighter uses lethal force, the opponent, even if normally non-lethal, is allowed to adjust their own tactics to end the fight quickly for survival.
So Batman might use more extreme measures against a killer than he would against, say, Robin?
Potentially, yes. It allows for a realistic response without fundamentally changing the character's core ethics outside that specific high-stakes encounter. Survival can trump the usual code in the arena.
Okay. And one last crucial rule clarification. Prep time.
Ah, yes. Big one for fan debates. The sources state explicitly, no artificial prep time. Characters come in with their standard gear, their usual state of readiness.
No, Batman gets 6 months to build an anti-Superman suit scenarios.
Exactly. We're seeing them as they typically are, ready for action, not with hyper-specific counter plans built over weeks.
Okay, so pulling it all together.
In synthesis, what you have is this layered system. You've got proficiency, how you fight. You've got power tiers, how strong you are. And you have the resolution framework and the arena, the environment and rules that shape the encounter, including that 2-tier adjustment.
It's complex, ensuring that even when there's a huge power difference, things like skill and strategy still have a role to play.
Definitely. It avoids purely stats-based outcomes.
So what does this all mean for us, for you listening?
It means you now have the vocabulary, the toolkit, to understand the why behind the outcomes in this battle arena setup. You can see how high-level skill, that remarkable or unprecedented proficiency, can still be a factor, a way to find a path to victory, even against much higher power tiers, especially when the arena rules kick in.
But this whole system, all these tiers and measurements, they're ultimately based on physical stuff, right? Lifting strength in tons, planetary destruction, measurable force.
Mostly, yes, until you hit those top tiers.
Right, the cosmic and especially the unmatched, where the sources say power isn't physical anymore.
Exactly. Which leads us to that final provocative thought, something to mull over.
Okay.
We've built this detailed system to measure physical capability. But for those unmatched entities, death, dream, concepts like that, the sources say conflict is decided by will, concept, or narrative weight. So the question is, what does conflict even look like when power completely leaves the physical realm? When you can't measure it in tons or joules anymore, how do you quantify narrative weight in a fight?
What does a battle of concepts actually entail? That's definitely something to chew on. Keep digging into that idea. Until next time.